I do have one real question for you, Mr. President. What's with the marijuana crackdown? I mean, seriously, what is the concern? We will deplete the nation's Funyun supply? You know, pot smokers vote too, sometimes a week after the election, but they vote. Look at Britt Hume. He's high right now. He's on his 4th almond macaroon.
Tonight, another president is rewriting his position on the war on drugs, from support to opposition. 2 weeks ago, we reported that the president of Colombia told President Obama at the Summit of the Americas in Cartagena, Colombia, that the war on drugs is a failure and that we should be moving toward decriminalizing, if not legalizing, marijuana and possibly cocaine. You might remember President Obama's response.
I think it is entirely legitimate to have a conversation about whether the laws in place are ones that are doing more harm than good in certain places. I personally, and my administration's position, is that legalization is not the answer. Nevertheless, I'm a big believer in looking at the evidence, having a debate.
Notice that President Obama referred only to his opposition to legalization of drugs, but President Juan Manuel Santos had urged President Obama to also consider decriminalization. Here is what Barack Obama said about decriminalization back in January 2004, before he became Senator Obama.
In terms of legalization of drugs, I think that the battle, the war on drugs has been an utter failure, and I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws. But I'm not somebody who believes in legalization of marijuana. What I do believe is that we need to rethink how we are operating in the drug wars, and I think that currently we are not doing a good job.
So President Obama has favored decriminalization in the past. He obviously completely understands the case for decriminalization, though he will be unable to say that while in re-election mode. Presidencies inhibit free speech in presidents. When Vicente Fox was president of Mexico from 2000 to 2006, he cooperated in the American war on drugs, but chafed against it at the same time. Under intense pressure from the Bush administration in May of 2006, just 7 months before he left office, President Fox vetoed a Mexican bill that would have decriminalized the possession of small amounts of drugs in Mexico. At the time, he said that in Mexico, the possession and consumption of drugs are and will continue being crimes. The Mexican government will have to deepen the fight against drug trafficking. But since leaving office, former President Fox has been speaking his mind without worrying about pressure from the United States government. In 2009, he said this:
"Fighting violence with violence is not necessarily the answer. I did use different instruments, and I still think that today we should open the debate on legalization of drugs."
Then last year, he said this:
"We must come with new, intelligent, bright ideas, like, for instance, withdrawing the army out of the battle. Number two, legalizing the production, distribution, and consumption of drugs, all together and for all drugs, and all the way. We legalize consumption, and then we can move out of enforcement and dedicate the money, the efforts, and the public policies to attending a health program."
And this week, former President Fox called the war on drugs, quote, "an absolute failure." And he said, "The country that imposed the prohibition, the country that has punishments and considers drugs a crime, is the country that uses the most drugs in the world. We must end this useless war."